Hey there, everybody. Thanks for joining me for another one-man review. Today we'll be taking a look at the brand new anthologies from 3T Publishing, Told to Tell number 5, Heroes in Crisis. This book's put together by Matthew Mackman, and Sean and I were lucky enough to be invited to be part of this, so this is my comp copy on this issue, but really happy to be part of this book. Matthew's done a great job of curating a group of artists and then letting us do what we want, but also within that seems to have somehow managed to put together what seems to be like a collective understanding of something going on in the zeitgeist right now, and I think that's why he named it Heroes in Crisis. There seems to be a general theme amongst most of these stories, even though there wasn't any communication between any of the artists as far as I know. We definitely didn't. So I just want to flip through and give you a preview of it. This is a really limited first edition. Yeah, I've got number 36 of 150. So these are probably already out of print, but I'll put the information at the end so you can try and track one down anyways. But the cover's by Matthew Allison. I think he's the person who does the book Cankor. I've not read that, but I know a lot of people recommend it. And then there's a couple of the people that we've made friends with on this channel that I was really excited to share a cover with. So Everett Glenn is somebody that we talked to really early on, and I really love his work. I think he's one of the like future of comics type of people. So really happy to share a cover with Everett. That's really awesome. He goes on to this is something I've seen before his, but I think he expands upon a story that I've read before. He has a tendency to rework and expand on things, and I think he took that opportunity to expand on a story here, so that's fun. And as with the original instantiation of this, he has a shout out to Ed Piskor and Jim Rugg there as well. Don't forget to call Ed and Jim. You get that nice piece there by Everett. Here's some of the other art here where he's doing like a funky late 80s, early 90s like anime translation over there. This piece here is really funny by Sean Mack. It's Shadows Over Shitfuck rather than Innsmouth. It's a like goofy Lovecraft knockoff thing where these people go and stay at an inn. I noticed that it seems like there was a printing error here on the page, but this was the perfect page for a printing error. There's this extra ink that got on the page, and it makes it look like the monster creatures text here is all funny, and like they have flies flying around them and stuff. So if you're gonna have like the printer lay down some extra ink, that would be a good page for it. But I really enjoyed this. The art in this is really good, and the story was funny. Then you have a more poetic series of like pinups here with a poem going on top of them by Henri Dumas. Really like the fact that they're using like one of those name tag punch things, label maker things to do the lettering here, and just really like the style with all of this patterning going on, and when it gets more color in it, this kind of stuff is really cool. Then the other artist who I knew ahead of time and really excited knowing that we were going to be sharing a cover together was Bhanu Pratap. I think along with Everett, Bhanu's like one of my top, this is the future of comics type of people. So really excited to share cover with Bhanu. Bhanu's just amazing composer. His sense of abstraction is totally wild, and just I'm glad to see his stuff in color now. His use of color is just as good as everything else. So yeah, I cannot be more high on Bhanu. He was just in Now Anthology number 12, so I think Banu's blowing up as he should be. Then there's this really interesting piece here by Paolo Masagli that's not so much a comic. I mean, it is in the combination of words and pictures, but it feels more like a magazine layout, and he's doing a tarot card reading only from the major arcana. And this is where I start to feel, well, even with the shitfuck story and some of the poetry in this, and not so much Everett and Banu's piece, but a lot of the other pieces in here, including this one, are really addressing like what's going on in the world now and how do we move forward. And that's where I feel like in letting us all just kind of freestyle and go with what's in our minds like Matthew did, we're all kind of hitting on the same theme. So this is a tarot card reading that's kind of like, where's the world at now? What can we do to make it better? And this is being done with these, I'm assuming, custom-made tarot cards by Paolo, that are based around famous rock stars. And it's interesting here to get their real name, their birth date, and stuff like that. It was interesting to see how many of them have changed their name to some extent, and then which artists haven't. And anyways, that's all put together into like a tarot card reading, which is fun. This is a Chuck Baldock story where he's kind of doing an analysis of Don Quixote, but he's also talking about like where heroes have lost their power. Everett's piece is kind of like that too. Like it's more like a tearing down of the superheroes, but then trying to refine the value in it as well. Like that, it's like the postmodern deconstruction of the superheroes. Same as like Don Quixote going into like a deconstruction of what literature can be, and then building back up and finding the worth in it. And there's a scene in here where he talks about Don Quixote or Cervantes, sorry, using metafiction, and that's something that he acknowledges. Well, I'm doing it now, but it's okay. Cervantes did it, and I thought that tied into the theme of the book as well. And then just admitting that art is indeed a fool's errand, but it's one still worth fighting, and that seemed to be a theme throughout the book. Is like even as we feel like we're losing meaning in the world, it's still worth creating. It's still worth finding. Then this is a notebook from, I'm assuming it's pronounced Yanovsky, and I noticed there was a Cerebus sketch in there, which was really fun. And then given the story that Sean and I did, which was about multiverses, it was fun to see this multiverse of sadness, because I was kind of taking pot shots at multiversal storytelling. And that to me was, the theme of this book is people like looking at the way storytelling is happening now, and the way heroes are being treated now and stuff like that, and asking for some kind of like aware revivification of that genre maybe. And then Jordan Barry Brown with the kind of surreal little story here in the desert, really cool art on this. Then you get the collaboration that Sean and I did here, where we were using the AI and just the mess that the AI made, and then freestyling over top of that. And then I combined the art together in the computer and just used the panels that the AI had provided and tried to fill them with text that made some kind of sense. So when you're looking at these, like this composition in particular, me and Sean didn't coordinate on this, but when he sent it to me, it was like, oh my God, it looks like we planned it to fit right there. And that kind of just really fun surprise was a really, really pleasurable in making this collaboration with Sean, where everything just kind of seemed to fit perfect and have just the amount of space to say what I wanted to say. So me and Sean are both really proud of this. We hope that you get a chance to check this out. And again, really just honored to be a part of this book. There's so many good artists in here, and a bunch of people that, like I said, I think are the future of comics, that it's really cool to be included in that group. And then on the back you have a Jared Cody Wolf with a just kind of, again, seeming to be like a stream of consciousness thing. I know Matthew Mackman, and talking back and forth to him a lot since working on this, he really likes beat poets, and that was something that he encouraged us to think about. So he kind of has that attitude of just like free association and drawing meaning out of words that way. And this kind of has that feel to it. And I think his approach to putting together an anthology had that. It was just like, if you just let people go, if you just let them free associate, you might tap into some kind of sense of the zeitgeist. And I think that's what this book did. It's not super well defined, and obviously I'm probably mapping what I wrote about onto some of the other people's, but it was cool to see like these hints at multiverse show up. It was cool to see these hints at like storytelling being torn down and brought back. Like there seemed to be a collective sense throughout this book, and I think that is in large part because of how Matthew encouraged us to work. And so really appreciate it, Matthew. It's been a pleasure working with you. Thanks so much for having you. I hope everyone's able to get a copy of this. There's only 150 of them, but maybe if enough of you go out there and push for it, you could get a second printing or something, because this is really, really worthy anthology to have. So thank you for supporting it. If you enjoy what we're doing here on the channel and want to support us, there's two ways to do that. The first one's through our Patreon. We have two different tiers of engagement. The first one will get you early access to all of our videos. Usually have a backlog of about two months, month and a half or so of videos on there. Then the second tier gives you access to previews of the work that Sean and I are doing on our stories, Discards and Bound. It also gives you access to the ongoing web experiment, Pranay Day, where we're continuing to track the evolution in AI using a Groundhog Day story. And within that story, you can help control what happens to Pranay in each new iteration of the day by voting on what he does next. So it's an interactive web experiment in AI. And then the best way to support Living the Line is to support what Sean's doing with Living the Line Publishing. So we'll go ahead and take a look at one of his products now.
Whole new world. 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 For you and
Thanks for following along. Take it away, Jack.
You want to see all these books? Smash that subscribe button and the like button and the bell, and then you get them.